Welcome to 6 Minute Hump Day, where we help entrepreneurs get through their busy week with a dash of inspiration, motivation, and a touch of education.
We are live. Episode number 36 of the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. On this week's 6 Minute Hump Day, we are finishing off our 4-part series with Jevon Ikner. Excited to have him back on. What's up, brother?
What's up, Jeff? Thank you for having me on.
I'm excited to finish off our little mini series here. It's been so insightful the first 3 weeks, so I'm excited to get to know what we're going to be talking about today. So what's our topic on today?
Why a spiritual practice is important in life.
That's awesome, brother. This is something we talked about prior. You're going to have a lot more expertise than myself, so I'm excited to be learning a little bit more on this aspect and this topic. So let's get going. Let's hit the road running.
So spiritual practice. Let's summarize what that means. To me, that means it's a relationship with something higher than ourselves. There's been a ton of names given to this higher being: God, Buddha, Allah, Krishna. There's been a ton of names given to that. And I'll stay away from using names, but it is a relationship to higher source. The reason I feel like that is important is because as human beings, we are very limited. You know, we're limited to our knowledge. We're limited to our conditioning. We just have very specific limitations as human beings. When we connect through source, it allows us to have access to information, energy that is beyond what we can access as a human being. And so that's why I feel it's really important. Those times when we feel, it happened to me the other day. I was working with my coach and we were working through some questions. And I said to him, I don't know. And he said, you don't know, but you can find out. And we'd had some talks about, meditating and allowing source to reveal answers. And this is a very specific example of the limitations. I didn't know. Jevon did not know. With my mental capacity and the knowledge that I have, I did not have the answer. However, through meditation, through stillness, through resonating with source energy, the answer was revealed to me, or it's being revealed. I'm still in the process of revealing that answer. And so that's what spirit allows us to have access. And that's really important.
So I'm going to dive into that quickly. You said you have a spiritual coach yourself?
He's not a spiritual coach. It's a business coach.
Very, very good. So is this something that that's been a part of your life for a long time? Is it something you grew up with? Is it something that you've focused a lot of attention on recently? When did the spiritual aspect of your being, in a way, when did you start focusing on that?
Yeah, I would say in my mid-20s, I've always felt like there was just higher order. I've always understood that, this four-dimensional world that we live in isn't just all there is. And I went out and I pursued different religions. I practiced Christianity for a while, and then I moved into Buddhism. And I also learned a little bit about the Hindu culture, or the Hindu spirituality world. And so I have a pretty good background on all that. And what I realized is that they're all saying the same thing. It's obviously there's different regions that these practices were created in. There's different time frames. So the wording is different. But if you really unpack it at its base level, they're all pretty much saying the same thing. They're all saying that we are aspects of the divine. So we have divinity within us, but we're limited based on our five senses, right? We can, see, hear, smell, taste, touch. Did I get them all?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a very finite limitation of how we get to experience life. Source is unlimited. It's infinite, if you will. It's all there ever was and all there ever will be. And so we can allow this to guide our lives. It has greater access to knowing than us, right? So I would want to align my life with that, because Jevon is very limited. The person Jevon is very limited in what he knows. And so my objective is to always make sure that I'm in alignment with where source is pulling me towards, and trusting source.
Now, how is your business, how is that all changed or developed since you found a better understanding of this? And I'm sure this is something you're constantly learning, constantly developing, right? But as an entrepreneurial podcast, I'm sure there's a lot of entrepreneurs that do have strong spiritual beliefs. How could they utilize that towards making themselves a better person and their business more profitable, more, I wouldn't say profitable, but profitable could be anything, and it doesn't have to be money, but just a better overall vision? What would be your explanation to that, or your advice to that?
Yeah.
Because you did say you had a business coach. So I thought it was a nice mixture there, right?
Yeah. For me, Jeff, it's the most important thing in my life. And so for me, I want to make sure that my business, my personal life is a reflection of this spirituality that I'm embodying. And so if I think you're asking if there's entrepreneurs that have a sense of spirituality, what can they do to better their business using their spiritual walk? Is that?
Yeah, in a way where a lot of people don't. What I meant was, a lot of people, they do have a spiritual understanding, but they're so busy with their lifestyles, and they don't take the time, whether it's the meditation, whether it's the quiet time, they don't take the time to utilize their beliefs or their spiritual beliefs to better themselves as people and as entrepreneurs. So what recommendations would you give to them? That make more sense?
Yeah, it does. I would recommend that they gain an understanding of where is spirituality on the priority list for them. If it's something that is very high priority, but yet they're not allowing it to reflect in their lives as a priority, then I would make some shifts to make sure that spirituality is being reflected in their life to the priority that they have it.
Yeah, that's well said. Yeah. It's just, like I said, it's people in general, I find, is especially entrepreneurs, is their lifestyle, right? You're constantly aiming to better yourself, constantly aiming to better your business. And you sometimes, and this is a reason why entrepreneurs have such a high divorce rate, have such a high, they focus on themselves and their business before everything else. And they don't allow their spiritual side, their family side, other stuff, which is topics we talked about in our 4-part series here, to be part of themselves, whether it's the health with their family, whether it's a spiritual part with their family. So I think this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs could learn off, is understanding that they could find a balance, and that balance is going to make them a better person, probably a more successful business person, if they could find that balance with spirituality, balance with their family, balance with their health, and all that stuff like that, which is the 4 topics we pretty much went through over the last 4 weeks. Do you agree with that?
I do, yes. And it's important to make sure that whatever you're building and creating, that the foundation is strong. We're reminded of this in a lot of spiritual scriptures, is that we want to build on solid ground, not loose sand, where we don't experience that sense of grounding. A lot of us have been taught what will bring us happiness and fulfillment, only to realize that these things in themselves provide temporary excitement. Yeah. And then that is the only time that we say, hey, I've done this and that. Why am I still not experiencing that sense of fulfillment? Some people cannot handle that. And they're like, well, where is it to go? And they don't even know what else to do. And you talk about suicide and just becoming extremely depressed. It's like, I've gotten to the quote unquote top of the mountain, and I feel the same as when I started this journey.
Or you feel worse because you feel more lonely because through the journey, you've lost a lot of your closer friends, or you lost a lot of your family, or family has passed away that we talked about earlier. You don't spend the quality time with your family. Through the process, you get to the top. And I've seen this with a lot of entrepreneurs. You see this in the celebrity world, right? These people, they feel like they have everything, but you look in their eyes and they don't have nothing. And you see that a lot. And that's one thing. I think individuals like yourself that are helping entrepreneurs, helping men understand that, finding that balance in their lives, and finding that balance is going to make the long-term goals a lot more joyful and more
absolutely
meaningful. Meaningful is probably the proper word. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate everything you're doing, because I know myself where I am. You're always learning, you're always constantly growing, but I see a lot of individuals, whether you have a spiritual side or you don't have a spiritual side, or you have a family side, or you don't have a family side, you don't have that purpose, which was the first part we talked about in our four-part series, is you don't have the purpose, and then you don't have the time with the family, and then you don't have a spiritual side, and you're just going by, focus on one thing, which is the dollar signs. And time and money goes and time flies by. And when you realize that everything's gone, and that sadness hits, right? So I totally agree with that part of it.
Yeah, well said, my man. We've seen kings, we've seen people that have it all, that could not have literally had anything more, decide to kill themselves, or to be unhappy, to be sad.
Yeah.
So happiness is an inside job. It's not a matter of just creating things in a specific way and creating a lot of it on the outside. If that happens without doing the inside work, we've just built on sand. We build it on a loose foundation. And so as below, as above, so below, right? The tree can only grow above based on the healthiness and the strength of its root system.
I love that. I love that.
And this is exactly why my program is called The Rooted Man.
I love that because it's just, I love visual stuff, right? So that gives you a visual understanding of what you're trying to build and develop. And for those listening for the first time or followed our 4-part series, Jevon has a program called The Rooted Man. And I'm going to put on all the show notes, how to get a hold of him, how to be part of this amazing program. And we are going to put on the show notes how to get a hold of him through social media, through his website, all of that, stuff like that. We're going to end it on that note. Great little lesson there. I appreciate our 4-part series you've been on, taking the time each week to be part of our podcast and our show. So thank you so much for this, all brother. I'm sure we're going to have you on for a full episode in the near future. And once again, thank you for coming on to the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you, brother.
I want to thank Jevon Ikner for being a guest on the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. What a pleasure having him on. Like all weeks, guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, tell your friends, tell your family. We're trying to build something special here. Hit the subscribe button. Leave a review. 5 stars would be absolutely amazing. Until next week, always move forward.